announced tonight, Inspector General of Police directs CPs to dust case file on electoral offenders. As the world marks World Press Freedom Today, journalists call for improved service conditions, while on the foreign scene, at least 95 people killed in Rwanda floods. Good evening, and we're glad to have you join us on the Major Reports. I am Olubumi Ajiboye Agbola. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, has directed state commissioners of police to tidy up their case files on electoral offenders in the 2023 general elections for onward submission to the Independent National Electoral Commission for prosecution. According to him, while case files of electoral offenders will be handed over to INEC, the police are already prosecuting those who committed other offenses on election days. The IG, represented by the Commissioner of Police in charge of election planning, monitoring and evaluation, Basil Idegu, said this in Abuja during a one-day conference on political parties, 2023 elections and future of democracy in Nigeria, organized by the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies in Kuru, Jos Plateau State, with support from the European Union to present the observation report of the general elections. He commended those who made the election a reality and for the role they played, especially the security and intelligence agencies who worked closely with the police in ensuring that the mandate of securing election was carried out successfully. The Senate has directed its Committee on Interior to investigate circumstances leading to the unwarranted delay in issuance and renewal of international passports by the Nigerian Immigration Services. It also mandated the committee to investigate contract award for production of international passports and turn in its report within 2 weeks. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion tagged delay on issuance renewal of international passports by NIS at plenary, sponsored by Senator Lillian Ekwenife. Senator Ekwenife said the delay is creating untold hardship on Nigerians who need to travel out of the country or return, noting that the passport is an official identity document, but many Nigerians are still facing challenges over the processing, despite the 6-week timeline given by the federal government. An Osun State-based political commentator, Abiodun Adigoke and Aziz Ademola of Fountain University, have said that ideal candidates for the 10th National Assembly should have a combination of competence, experience and capacity. The duo made the observation shortly after featuring on News and Current Affairs program The Nation Today. They also said the president of the Senate should be zoned to the east, to the southeast for equity. The duo speak further.
The country, and the only way, the only arm where I can correct the wrongs that we actually experience in the country now is that the red chamber and the green chamber. So what they need to do is to work hand in hand. The green chamber and the red chamber need to work hands in hands to show that they deliver the deliverables to the majority of Nigerians. How do I mean? I don't want to see a house that will be fighting with the executive. I want to see a house that will agree to decided to agree on some issues that this is not too good for this country, this is good for the country, and they should again look at, if possible, for them to sit tightly and look at it. This concern of this country is not really too good for us. Let us look at how we can review it. All these amendments should stop.
I think an Orji Uzor Kalu Senate presidency will be a very good thing for this country, so that the people of the Southeast can have a sense of belonging in the scheme of things in this country.
Abia State House of Assembly has dismissed the purported impeachment of the Speaker Chinedum Orji by some members of the House led by its former Deputy Speaker Ifeanyi Uchendu. This was made public during the preliminary session of the House presided over by the Speaker, where some members of the House sat in an location, reportedly impeached the Speaker and elected Chukwudi Apugo as the new speaker. However, a member of the House, Jerry Osbc, during the preliminary, described the move as unconstitutional, disgraceful, and against the rules of the legislature. Osbc moved a motion that all the members involved in the alleged impeachment move should be suspended with immediate effect and a new deputy speaker elected. The call by the Nigerian Labour Congress for the elongation of years in service from 60 to 65 has been generating divergent reactions in the public domain. Oluwatobiloba Odunuga has more.
The call made by the Nigerian Labour Congress for review of civil servants' retirement age and years of service in the entitlement public service to 65 years has continued to generate divergent views from well-meaning individuals, as many believe that the call for the elongation of worker service year is not healthy for the nation, while many believe it is a welcome development. It will be recalled that the NLC president, Joe Ajaero, recently made the call during the 2023 Workers' Day celebration in Abuja, demanding that the age of retirement and length of service in the entire public service be reviewed upward to 65 years of age and 40 years of service. Reacting to this development, while speaking with Osbc News, the Osun State NLC caretaker chairperson, Comrade Modupeola Oyedele, said the demands for the elongation of civil servant service year to 40 years is a welcomed idea, noting that there are still energized civil servants whose knowledge and experience on their job cannot be found elsewhere, saying adding to their service years will add to the development of the nation. She noted that the call is to also remind all tiers of government for more provision of job opportunities and creation of skill acquisition programs for the youth.
It's of benefit to the government because there are some agencies, some parastatals, that even at the age of 60, we still have workers being agile, and they have an in-depth of knowledge, of experience, and they still have a lot of things to be contributed to the development of the nation.
Speaking to the contrary, the Osun State NOGE President, Dr. Nathaniel Okungbangbe, said the demands of the Nigerian Labour Congress is uncalled for, as there are thousands of youths who graduate from institutions every year, adding that when will they be given the opportunity to serve in the civil service?
If we decide to continue to stay in office, you are 60, you want to be 65 before you leave office. How about these hundreds of thousands of graduates that Nigerians are producing every year that have not gotten a job? Where do they go? You see, some people will have to leave the state for others to come in.
He added that instead of increasing civil servant service years, the government should be prompt in the payment of workers' retirement packages, as this will help retired workers to build up businesses of their own, which will help in boosting the country's economy. Oluwatobiloba Odunuga, Osbc News.
In the meantime, the ongoing industrial action by organized labor comprising the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress in Imo State has cut off the electricity supply in the state. A statement by the head corporate communications, Enugu Electricity Distribution Company, Emeka Eze, said the industrial action had forced the Transmission Company of Nigeria, which is the primary source of power supply, to shut down in the state. Eze further stated that as a result of the development, all customers of the EEDC in Imo State under its Owerri, New Owerri, Olu and Mbase districts are out of electricity supply, pending when the industrial dispute will be resolved. It was learned that after its joint central working committee meeting, the organized labor resolved that all affiliates of both the NLC and the TUC in Imo State are to withdraw their services. As the international community marks World Press Freedom Day, the call for improved working conditions for media practitioners took center stage. Those who spoke with Osbc News in commemoration of the day said the freedom of the press remains the foundation of democracy and justice. Oluchi Amuda examines the journey so far and the challenges facing the media.
World Press Freedom Day was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in December 1993.
following the recommendation of UNESCO's General Conference. This year's celebration marks the 30th anniversary of the World Press Freedom Day. In his address in commemoration of the day, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that the freedom of the press is the bedrock on which democratic principles and justice thrive across the globe. The UN chief, who spoke on the theme Shaping a Future of Rights, Freedom of Expression as the driver for all other human rights, maintained that there has been substantial progress towards achieving a free press and freedom of expression around the world, as the proliferation of independent media in many countries and the rise in digital technologies have enabled the free flow of information. He, however, maintained that media freedom, the safety of journalists, and freedom of expression are increasingly under attack.
All our freedom depends on press freedom. Freedom of the press is the foundation of democracy and justice. It gives all of us the facts we need to shape opinions and speak truth to power. And as this year's theme reminds us, press freedom represents the very lifeblood of human rights. But in every corner of the world, freedom of the press is under attack. Truth is threatened by disinformation and hate speech seeking to blur the lines between fact and fiction, between science and conspiracy. The increased concentration of the media industry into the hands of a few, the financial collapse of scores of independent news organizations, and an increase of national laws and regulations that stifle journalists are further expanding censorship and threatening freedom of expression.
Speaking in the same vein, Osun State Chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Mr. Wasiu Ajadoshu, said one of the major challenges faced by media practitioners in Nigeria is the lack of proper enumeration. He noted that journalists in Nigeria have maintained a remarkable level of hard work and resilience, which have continued to play important roles in promoting transparency, accountability, and good governance.
In this part of the world, I would say journalism has not been given the needed attention and priority in terms of welfare package, lack of insurance cover for the media professionals, non-creation of conducive environment for the media professionals. And all this, accumulation of all this is affecting the profession. So there's a need for media owners and governments to come together and look for the way to improve the lives of an average journalist.
In her contribution, a seasoned journalist and director News and Current Affairs Department, Osbc Radio, Mrs. Abimbola Babatunde, stated that the media must be given free access to operate, as freedom of the press would amount to freedom for everyone.
Freedom of expression, as we have it in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 39, gives room for any person to express himself or herself freely without any hindrance. So having freedom of expression will translate to so many things. It will entail so many rights. If you can say what you want to say at any time and anyhow you want to say it without minding anything.
In his submission, a one-time journalist, Chief Wale Oyeniyi, maintained that no society can progress without the media, as journalists have frequently exposed corruption, beamed searchlight on human rights violations, and reported public interest events, issues, and trends.
The media, in fact, is the watchdog of the society. Even for media, we will have been getting dictatorial government, authoritarian government. They are the ones now informing the public and cautioning the authoritarian leaders, the wicked leaders. They are the ones. So society now cannot do without press. They've done wonderfully well. They made us aware of what is going on, the behavior of our leaders, anything that came out, we are able to know about it. So it's inevitable in society.
However, bemoaned the activities of those whom he described as social media journalists who use the platform to spread misinformation to the public.
Every media organization now has its own editorial policy. Like if it's a print media, if it's electronic media, they have their editorial policy. But social media has no policy. They just print and they just book something, put it in the social media, and they say something. So we cannot call them journalists. We call them journalists. What they are just not journalism at all. In fact, it's even far from being called jungle journalism.
The respondents called on all stakeholders to recognize the essential role that free and independent media play in fostering a well-organized society and a sustainable democracy, just as they implored the government to develop an up-to-date international standard public policy for the information sector, reform media legislations and broadcasting regulations in consonance with the direction of the media policy. Oluchi Amuda, Osbc News.
The European Union has advised Nigeria to tighten security architecture at the seaports to help reduce the vulnerabilities and risks. The call was made as the closing ceremony of Africa Port Security First Mission training in Nigeria for ports in Lagos. The mission, which started August last year, was sponsored by EU and driven by Expertise France with the collaboration of the Nigerian Ports Authority and the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. The team leader of WCAPS, Nico Vertogen, said strengthening the security and safety of the West and Central African ports will help reduce vulnerabilities and risks and thereby increasing skills and vigilance. Vertogen called for perimeters, fencing of the ports, installation of CCTVs and access badges, among others, as a means to tighten the nation's port security. He explained that the WCAPS project is a partner project with expertise giving their opinion on safety and security accompanied by training. The managing director, MPA Mohamed Bello Koko, commended the EU for the WCAPS training mission to strengthen security and safety of ports in the West and Central African region. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has released results of the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination conducted between April 25 and May 1st. A statement by the organization said 1,595,779 candidates registered for the examination in 708 computer-based test centers across 105 towns nationwide. The board, however, said that the rescheduled examination is to take place on Saturday for those that were absent, those under investigation, as well as those of visually impaired candidates which are undergoing processing. The board noted that to check the results, all candidates need to send UTME results to 55019 or 66019. The federal government says over 13,000 Nigerians have been benefited from its various flood relief intervention across the affected states in the country. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Dr. Nasir Gwazo, disclosed this to newsmen during a meeting with relevant stakeholders in the humanitarian services in Abuja. Dr. Gwazo said it is in addition to the implementation of Stabilization Fund projects in 6 local government areas in Northeast and Northwest, where 27,432 persons benefited, noting that the states include Anambra, Bayelsa, Katsina, Kogi, Benue, Nasarawa, among others. You are welcome to our sports segment. Nigeria's Golden Eaglets lost their second game against Atlas Corps of Morocco by a lone goal in the ongoing African Cup of Nations in Algeria. David Ojo has more.
The Interim Management Committee, IMC, of the Nigerian Premier Football League has assured that apart from those already disrupted by the CAF Confederations Cup matches that involve Rivers United, fixtures will be played as scheduled. It will be recalled that Rivers United exited the competition last Sunday at the quarterfinal stage after a 2-0 aggregate score against the Young Africans of Tanzania. The Port Harcourt side, playing in Group B of the NPFL, had some fixtures rescheduled to enable them have full focus on the continental tie. Golden Eaglets of Nigeria has lost the second game of the Group B match against the Atlas Corps of Morocco by a lone goal. The own goal scored by Ogboji Tiochukwu in the second minute of the encounter gave the young Moroccans the first quarter-final ticket of the Group B in the ongoing African Cup of Nations in Algeria. With this standing in Group B, Nigeria's Golden Eaglet must beat South Africa in their last match of the group stage to secure the second ticket of the quarter-final in Group B of the competition. Meanwhile, South Africa and Zambia in Group B will play at exactly 8 p.m. Nigerian time today. The 2023 Women's Football League champions may miss out of this year's CAF Women's Champions League competition if they fail to get prospective club license before the end of this month, following CAF's directive and statement credited to the Nigerian Football Federation that the champions of the 2023 Women's League will not be determined until after the competition of WAFO bid Under 20 Championship in Ghana. If that decision doesn't change, the Nigeria club may not participate in this year's Champions League. The Confederation of African Football has given directive to all participating clubs in the Women's Champions League to complete their registration before the end of May 2023. This is David Ojo reporting for Osbc News.
While on the foreign scene, at least 95 people have been killed in western Rwanda in flooding triggered by heavy rains. Aishat Mustafa has details of the story and others.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says almost 258 million people in 58 countries faced acute food shortages last year due to conflict, climate change, effect of the coronavirus pandemic, and the war in Ukraine. The Global Report on Food Crisis, an alliance of humanitarian organizations founded by the UN and the European Union, says people faced starvation and death in 7 of those countries: Somalia, Afghanistan, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, South Sudan, and Yemen. The report indicated that acute food shortages has increased for the 4th consecutive year, a stinging indictment of humanity's failure to implement UN goals toward hunger. Meanwhile, the allegation was made by the Russian government, saying it is the most dramatic charge Moscow has leveled against Kyiv since its war on its neighbor began. An unverified video circulating on Russia's social media showed pale smoke rising behind the main Kremlin's palace in the war citadel after this purported incident. Meanwhile, senior Ukrainian presidential official Mikhailo Podolak told journalists that Kyiv had nothing to do with the alleged incident, suggesting Russia's claim were a false flag, as it's clearly preparing a large-scale terrorist attack. At least 95 people have been killed in western Rwanda in flooding triggered by heavy rains. Governor of Rwanda's western province, Frosio Abatiko, confirmed the latest death toll as the river Sebia busted in banks. Governor of Rwanda's western province, Frosio Abatiko, confirmed the latest death toll as the river Sebia burst its banks. He added that the hardest hit district in the province, Rotsiro, where 26 people died, Yabihu with 19 killed, Rubaf and Ugororio with 18 deaths each and houses destroyed. According to the Rwanda Meteorology Agency, the East African nation is expected to receive above average rainfall in May. Aisha Mustafa, Osbc News.
To hear the major reports, here's a recap of some of the top stories. The Inspector General of Police Usman Baba has directed State Commissioners of Police to tidy up their cases files on electoral offenders in the 2023 general elections for onward submission to the Independent National Electoral Commission for prosecution. We also told you that as today marked International World Press Freedom Day, media practitioners have called on improved working conditions as press remains bedrock of democracy and justice. While on the forensic, we told you that at least 95 people have been killed in western Rwanda in flooding triggered by heavy rains, while the Rwanda Meteorological Agency said the East African nation was expected to receive above average rainfall in May. And that ends the major report on OSBC TV. It was edited by Michael Adeni. I'm Olubumi Ajiboye Agbola, wishing you a pleasant night.